Actually, a matrix.
Always helps having some.
Oh no.
My family is Spanish.
Oh, From donde?
Salvador,
Oh,
Salvador.
Salvador.
Yes. And the root is in Aragon.
Oh, Aragon in Spain.
Just had to stop just It was a good deal.
Rolling.
All right.
Make a better effort.
Let's see, first time I met
Get
Bret
time off of work so I can
was
hang out with everybody.
Bret came in. Monica and I were running the summer leap program that year, and Bret came in and was telling us about the upcoming emo camp that we were going to do. I guess this would have been '97, and yeah, and Bret's just got that charm. You know, we talked to him on the phone, I hadn't met him before, and he came in and was like, okay, here's how it's going to go, and
Only because we moved
he just had, you know, I mean, that was just my first experience with Bret, but he had so much positive energy and just that sparkle in his eye. And, you know, and I guess my favorite Bret memory would have been that week that followed a month later or so. And
So did you buy a new door?
you know, just seeing, I guess it was just an introduction to this world that I didn't know anything about, and just seeing all you guys just so enthusiastic and you know, shooting up Factor every morning and you know, every day it was kind of like I'm hurting, but I'm going out there and gonna live so well, and seeing Bret and Terry out that week, and just every day smiling and laughing and charging and taking glaucoma treatment breaks and everything. And, yeah, Bret gave me a lot, so we're definitely thinking of you, buddy.
All right. Ready for you?
Yeah, the first time I met Bret was on the Salmon River with Bill, running Cascade. I think it was the first time he'd been down Cascade. He stayed up every time I met him, as high as he was on that trip, running the river.
Yeah.
Every time I saw him, he was always up. I think the best time we had was Bill and bachelor party, Tamarack Lake, four-wheeler,
Kevlar wears out over time.
sailboats,
So,
sound systems, electric guitars on the edge of the wilderness. Most of the backpackers stayed away, but we had a ball. That was the best time I met.
First time I met Bret was at the Sacramento Symposium, Region 9. Bret, I saw him and I swear I'd known him before, so, and they say if that happens, that means you've known the person in a past life. And then he was like, I knew him. And then he says that the first time he saw me, I was in white robes.
They tried to come in between.
And, which I wasn't. I was not. And that was, yeah. And then he hired me like 3 months later, actually. I was living in LA at the time and then moved up to Sacramento and then took Ken's old job. And then my favorite Bret memory, that was when we were driving through Washington State, picking up the artwork for the art show. It was snowing really hard, and I decided to drive anyways. We decided we were going to drive anyways, even though the road was covered in snow. And I was going, and I didn't realize how fast I was going. Bret at the time, he had an ounce of cut pot on his lap, and he was rolling it up for us. And so all of a sudden I realized I'm going 60 and I'm in the oncoming lane of traffic. There was no other traffic. We were on a very little road. But I'm like in the other lane and I realized, oh. So I start to turn and realize I have no traction. So I just let off the gas and started doing this wave pattern where I started doing larger and larger waves. Realized we were going to flip, and so I slammed on the gas and pointed it towards the side of the road, and we went over a berm, flew many feet, landed, and everything was fine. And this cop comes up, and he's a state trooper. He's got like the total state trooper hat, and he's got the yellow cord. And Bret goes, "Wow, that's a nice hat!" And with pot, you know, he had just cleaned up all the pot. And I just went, and I started laughing, and that's my favorite Bret memory.
Will we be on the river?
On the river? Yeah?
With Bill's group.
Okay. Anything specific that stands out in your mind about that?
The big smile.
Big smile. Do you have, later on, do you have any memories that stand out, that favorite memories?
Very determined.
Very determined? Okay.
And very, took very good care of his wife.
Have any first time?
Yeah, actually I only met Bret once, but it was here at his place. I came here with my girlfriend, and he had immense hospitality. And I'd have to say the one memory that stands out is that he outsmoked me. That's really probably the one memory of it. Other than that, I think the memories start to fade because he outsmoked me.
Okay, go ahead.
Hey, this is for Bret.
Yes. So you were talking about camp.
Yes, ringing the bell. So I was always hoping he would just sleep in one morning, so we could all just sleep in one morning, and it never happened. But yes, he was always the first riser. I think he used to get up about 5 o'clock in the morning, ring that damn bell at 7 o'clock, and as all the kids would be charging up the hill, all the counselors would be dragging their butts up the hill. And he was always just with this great smile and very happy, and he used to bring coffee to all the counselors
Really?
who were half asleep, and he used to give massages too. And so that would definitely be my favorite memory of Bret, and just watching him just make everyone else happy, even the non-morning people. So.
All right.
Hi, Patricia. The first time I met Bret was definitely at the ERC DAO camp on the Klamath, and rolled in, and I was pretty new to town and didn't know very many folks, and of course got a gracious invite from Bill, and I came up, and it was a party. Everybody was having just a fantastic time, and then I got down and got to see who was down there, and just how happy everyone was to be there. That was a really special place to be for this group of people, and that's about my favorite Bret memory also.
You know, just because you get.
Do you have a favorite moment that you think of stands out in your mind?
No, just a smile. So yeah, there's just kind of
Oh,
more.
yeah.
You know, there's a whole bunch to get.
Hey, what's up? I just want to say, Bret, I'm going to miss you. I loved you a lot, man. You meant a lot to me. I looked up to you in many ways. You were a pretty big inspiration to me. So you'll always be in my heart. And
What's your best memory of Bret?
My best memory of Bret? Oh man, just how he was such a nice person in every way. You know what I mean? He was so caring. He was nothing really got him down except when people were rude. I didn't really see him mad too often. You know what I mean? So
thank you. Many people are blessed. Very few have ever blessed as many as you have. Thank you, Bret. Thank you, Patricia, and what you've done for each other, what you've done for us. The opportunities you've given us are way more than anyone could ever dream of or hope for. And I hope we can do even close to the things that you've shown an example to us. Thank you. I love you.
That's right. He just doesn't pay for it. No, I paid for it. Yeah. Oh, that's right.
Oh, you were doing the gas and the dash.
Yeah, the pay and
They didn't have any record of him not paying. I wish I got it straight.
For Tony up in her house, and that's all on my knees, everybody hands and knees and upside down, and it took me 4 days to do something I should have done in a day.
That's okay. Well, sure. I mean, what was
Yeah,
that?
I'm not in a hurry, and I don't
And if you're doing something for somebody else, they jolly well better not tell you to hurry
my
up.
Tony is so appreciative.
Is that your daughter?
My daughter. One of my daughters.
Now, I know some of them I've seen at church.
Yeah. Well, they're all
Is Tony the one that sits on the left-hand side?
On the
Generally,
left-hand
see,
side. Well, her
I
and
place
Sam.
people.
I have to say, I hate this disease, but I like this disease too in a way because, and this might sound strange, but you know, it's made everybody work towards a different way of doing things, which I think is not bad, because where would disabled campers have come from if Bret didn't have hemophilia? So, anyway, that's all I got to say. Well, the first time I ever met Bret was when he and Patty came to my house. My son Sean was probably about, I think 15, 16 years old, something like that. I think it was just right when he found out he had HIV, and they came, and I just thought he was the happiest person. And he looked so innocent, he looked so young, they were so, just these little people sitting on my couch with so much energy. That was the first time I ever met him. He was so cool. And then, of course, you see him from time to time, and who knew, you know, he finally ended up being the president of my chapter, and I became the fundraiser, and he used to send me all these little booklets. It was really neat because I didn't know what I was doing. They just gave this job to me. And he used to send me these little folders in the mail, and they'd have little things written on them, like, for your nighttime reading, this'll keep you awake, or this'll put you to sleep. Oh, you're gonna really love this one, you know. And just all these little tidbits, and that's how I learned doing a lot of fundraising. He made you want to learn. He was really quite the person, and he was my mentor, and I wish I could have sat under his knee and learned everything that he knew for a lot longer. And another memory I have about him is reading a long time ago as a mom of a hemophiliac, not knowing really whether or not you could take your child with you all over the place, because we like to wander. I was something kind of, you know, just an old hippie lady who liked to go all over the place camping and stuff, and kind of worried about taking Sean, you know, and blood products and the whole bit. And then I read this article about Bret and his brother wandering all over Europe, and there was like this little serial about, you know, there was the first chapter, and then there was the second chapter, kind of like Travels with Bret. And I just thought that was kind of neat. I thought that was really neat. And when I finally met him, that's how I knew him, because, you know, Bret Leach, you know, these chapters that I had read in the little newspaper, and then you meet the person who wrote it. Of course, it sticks in your brain, you know. Oh, wow, that's cool. You went all over Europe. Anyway, he was a pretty neat person, and I really, really am going to miss him. I loved him. And I just think the world is not going to be as great a place without him.
Yeah, I met Bret about 8 years ago, and I'll never forget the time. It was up at our house, and we were middling for some medicine for Bret. And my partner, James, is also in need of medicine. And I'll never forget the way he just reached into the bag and just took out the hugest handful that I've ever seen and just said, "Here you go, man, enjoy." And it was just like, he just gave away hundreds of dollars worth of medicine. And my friend really needed it. My partner's just was always so grateful, and I'll just never forget the way he just shared like that. And I will always remember that. And I try and live my life somewhat according to the way he lived his. And I've learned so much about being a man from him. And I'll always love you, Bret.
My name's Nat, and let's see, first time that I met Bret was at a disabled camp, and it was while Bill Wings still had his camp up on the Klamath River, in the confluence of the salmon, and I remember I was just a wee little raft guide then, and walked up, or hitchhiked up to camp actually, with my dog and my backpack, and showed up there, and Bret was the first one to come up and give me a big hug. And welcomed me right into what seems to be quite a tight little family of people, and everyone else followed suit really quickly. It just made me feel right at home. I don't know about Bret memories. There's so many funny ones because there's so many sides to Bret. I love, seeing him on the river and pulling off into eddies every 15 minutes for a medical break, and
10 minutes.
Every 10 minutes. That was a shock to me my first time, but quickly grew accustomed to it. And then we always had to be real strict about, the guides not smoking and stuff. And of course, then we'd get tipped at the end of camp with a nice bud or something, and that was always nice. And then there's the other side of Bret where, like when he was running the board meetings, that's a whole different side of Bret where he gets right down to business. And that's something that a lot of leaders lack. So I've got a lot of funny shots of pictures of him just shutting people's mouths right quick in meetings and stuff. I'll never forget Bret. He's been a big part of my life and a lot of people's lives. And I know that whenever many of us start on adventures and stuff, that Bret will be going with us.
B-Town? What are you guys doing? B-Town.
YMCA, come on everybody. The beach people. YMCA.
Get lucky. Careful out there.
I will.
I know that somebody channeled people from some planet.
I believe it.
I asked him if you guys were abducted, he said no.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Huh. Hey, forward. Stop. You know, I can see I can see someone's house, and even that's too much, you know. So the next time we move, it'll be to a place where it'll be in the middle of 100 acres. So we're not gonna see any. Hi, Steve. Hi.
Hold up just a little bit.
In this car was my friend, one of my best friends. Taught me about business, taught me how to be a professional. He'll be deeply missed by me. This man was murdered by the pharmaceutical industry, influenced largely by Bayer Pharmaceuticals. It's a sad day to see him go. He helped a lot of people, made a big difference in the hemophilia community. He'll be missed by a lot of people.
Do they have butterflies here too?
I live in Belen, and I only been remember like 3 or 4 times.
Well, this is a bigger one. This is a separate thing, a big butterfly. Sure.
But one of the things that I know about him is that he taught a lot of people around him how to love very boldly. And he gave a lot of people who think in the hemophilia community the permission to love people in a way that they didn't think they would ever be able to love people in their lives, like wives and spouses, and bringing other people into that community. And so while I didn't know Bret really well as a person, one of the things that I always loved him for is for helping to teach my husband how to love other people. And I've always known that because of Trish and Bret and their union and their love for each other, he gave a lot of people a lot of freedom to bring a lot of other people into their lives. And so I think that's a gift that there's not really any words for.
And it's up on the South Fork of the Smith on a rainy day, and I think I flipped my boat once in the beginning, and I was kind of moaning and groaning at lunch about how bad I was doing, and I remember right away
meeting Bret and him giving me, a slap on the back saying, "Oh, you're doing all right, you're doing great." And ever since then, it was just a positive influence. And I guess probably my favorite day with Bret was last October. Alex, Bret, and I put the drift boat in at Leach's Beach, right around the corner here. And we were having a great day. We hooked up a few fish, and Bret hooked into a huge salmon, easily over 30 pounds. And he fought the thing for probably 10 minutes. It ran upstream and downstream. And all of a sudden it went under a log. And we didn't know if it was still on the line or not. And Alex and I are fully prepared to dive into the water with the rod and hand it back to Bret so he can finish fighting this fish. And unfortunately the fish came off. And I just remember Bret saying, no big deal. It was worth all the fight. And we ended up slamming him that day anyhow. But Bret was just such a positive person. I think for the rest of my life, whenever I'm down in the dumps, I'll always just remember how positive he was. And I think all of us need to remember that. Just keep a positive attitude. See you again.
I can't remember the first time I met Bret.
No, I don't even remember. I had him be with my dad. He's the one that introduced me to all of you guys. Actually, I just did a piece about you and my dad when you were protesting at Bayer. Favorite Bret memories. He would always tease me because I didn't want to get in the kayak because I was too scared. He would tease me, "Christine, get your ass in there." And then he would also tease me about whenever I would get sad. He would tell me, cheer up, and he'd just, the Bret smile that he always does, and just waddle away after teasing me for 20 minutes non-stop, being sad or something. Yeah. He was fun. He always cheered me up even when I was sad. And you know that.
Yeah, sometimes it's me, sometimes it's my crew. But
apple juice.
I always see different cars like that.
Yeah.
Is that apple juice?
Yeah. Yeah, you're probably actually going to get a letter from me here pretty soon.
Okay. First time I met Bret was I was being interviewed to be an intern for Electric Rafting Company right after Bill Thorpe and Bill Wing and Bret had kind of gone into business and internship position, and so I met Bill Wing, Bill Thorpe, and Bret all at the same time pretty much. And I remember thinking to myself when I first saw his face that he was a very friendly, kind person. That was my very first impression. And then just being here, looking at all the cool people that are here today is just a reflection on what an amazing person he was. And my favorite Bret memory, there's a lot of them. He was kind of like a father to me a little bit. Like I was buying a new truck and he was like totally into helping me like figure out what I needed and what to get and what the best model was for me and don't get ripped off. And he always coached me on my boyfriends and critiqued them as well, and finally has given me the thumbs up on the man. Just his smiling face and smoking lots of ganja with him and being really stoked just to be around him. All those memories are all very special, and I'll always treasure them.
My favorite Bret Leach moment is when we brought a bunch of kids up to adventure camp, and I threw my paper cup into the fireplace. And he told me to pick it up and throw it in a trash can because I was not supposed to deface the campsite in that way. So I did, because I respect the man. Bret, got a beautiful place here.
Yeah, it's
gonna miss you.
Place.
Gonna miss you.
First time I met Bret.
I don't, you know, I've known Brett so long, it's hard to remember the first time I met Brett. It must have been at summer camp, or either it was in 1986 at a baseball game, a Giants game. It was Skip and me and Brett and a bunch of other people, and we drove in my friend Andy's Volkswagen bus up to San Francisco. And we almost got killed by a truck driver. He got mad when my friend cut him off at 50 miles an hour, which is as fast as a VW bus could go. And so the truck driver kind of swerved over at us at one point. So he had his bus full of people, you know, and he was, and it was kind of fun. But you know, my friend who was driving was a little bit of a prick too, so you know, he probably deserved it. So anyway, we drove there and we met Skip, and you know, I remember Skip especially, you know, because Skip was way more cane-oriented than Brett or I ever were. Our seats were way up on the upper deck, and I remember watching Skip just plugging up with his canes, plugging up. And one of Brett's, I'll say my favorite, I have so many memories of Brett that I can't really pick a favorite, and a lot of them are just me and him were together. But my favorite Brett memory, one of the things that he would impart, if he were standing here next to me about this trip, was this trip to the Giants game, was that we drove up, and I had my placard, I brought it with me, and so we had this bus, you know, VW bus full of people, and my buff friend driving it, and we drive up, and it's like, where's your handicap parking? And so we're all kind of sitting around on the back of the bus, and the parking attendant goes, so is somebody in here to handicap? And I said, sure, you want us to get out and walk for you? And he waved us through. So that's what Brett would tell you about that Giants game if he were here, because whenever I mentioned that game, he would chime in and try and tell that story. I often forget who was the one who said that, but it was me, so I'll take credit for it now.
It was just kind of going all over the place. What Brett did was focus it into a group that I became really close to. And I opened up the other part to Brett, the local group around here. And between the two of us, we put together a phenomenal group of folks that are doing a lot of good things. And it lives on, even though Brett's gone. And so anyway, I got a song if I can make it through it. It'll be a miracle. Bret Leach was a friend of mine, you know I knew him well. Long to his distance, he was deep into his shell. But I could guess what he was laughing, I couldn't really tell. Now Bret is gone, but he'll live on as DAO will tell. Together we went traveling as we received a call. His destination's Trinity, and I had none at all. Well, I still remember laughing with our backs against the wall. So free from fear, we never thought that one of us might fall. I sit before my only candle, and so little light to shine my way. As this story unfolds before my candle, light is growing fainter as it reaches for the day. I fear that I might end off in a way. I guess I'll get better, but I wouldn't say. Bret Leach was a friend of mine. I didn't know him long, But when I stood myself beside him, I never thought I was as strong. It seems he stopped his singing in the middle of his song. Well, I'm not the one to say I know, but I'm hoping that I'm wrong. I sit before my only candle, so little light to shine my way. Now this story unfolds before my candle. The song is growing fainter, the harder that I play. I fear that I might end off in a way. I guess I'll get better, but I wouldn't say for sure. That's a true story. You know, one of the things, I can't tell the story. Forget it.
Oh, come on,
it was
Bill.
pretty funny.
We'll take your word for it, Bill.
Yeah, it involves all of you.
Brett, Bill, don't let us hang. Tell the story.
Okay. Well,
Or think of a different one to tell us.
Oh,
quickly.
I mean, you know, you saw Yes Hello on all the balloons around here. And I mean, those who knew him well, whenever you called him, you know, it was always yes hello, wasn't it? Yeah, it was pretty cool. Always an affirmative kind of. That was what his life was about, was yes and hello. You know, he was the friendliest guy that I knew, and he had no problem going up and hugging anybody. You know, I introduced him to a commander from the Navy, and this guy's so stiff, and Bret went right up and gave him a big hug, and he was so shocked. And I believe, yeah, it's Kurt. So yeah, on the door over there, you can see the email that he sent here. It really touched his life, Bret, and I got to hand it to Kathy for giving us somebody that, you know, you did such a good job with him. You know, and he's gonna be a big hole. Mark and Julie, other than the money that we gave, you know, just to say, yeah, we're a nonprofit, let's give them our money, and he says, Bret, work your magic. That's all he said. He said, here it is, Bret, work your magic. And I thought that was so true, because he had a lot of magic, and he had the ability to, you know, shame people into coming up here and having fun.
Bret wanted us to have a celebration.
And usually there'd be a cloud of smoke around his face, and we'd be laughing and having a good time. And he was just somebody that I could always come and talk to and share where I was at in my life and what was going on. And he always had some kind of good advice to say or the right perspective to give me. And I think he's going to continue to do that for me. And I'll definitely keep on smoking with him. And every once in a while I'll probably hear, dude! So right on, dudes. Rock on.
This is Mark Helm. He's, again, the first non-founder supporter.
Yeah, how long it has been. I remember meeting Bret for the first time in Monterey in his home. He had a little apartment off the house. At the time, he was, I believe, working at a tobacco selling cigars. He had his bedroom was filled with wooden cigar boxes, really, really nice ones. And he kind of collected those, I remember. I think probably the hardest part about losing Bret Bret and I have done a lot together. We started a business together. I think I've known him just under 20 years. We started a business together, a successful business. We've been to a lot of funerals together. And I think the hardest part was whenever I would go to those funerals, I knew Bret was always still there. I miss him, and he's a good guy.
I
think I'm probably the only one who doesn't have or have access to a river raft. But I did have the privilege of being Bret's neighbor here for, what's it been, Patricia, 3.5, 4 years? I live just 100 yards up the hill. Could you come up and they'd be there. We've had a lot of little kinks in this subdivision over the years, and Bret and I and David Corbett from down the road kind of formed a little alliance in here, and this is just an awful lot nicer place because of Bret's help. We got up yesterday afternoon and unpacked and set up for the evening, and I mixed a cocktail and walked out around my property, and I believe he's still here with us. I could just feel that.
Steve, one of the founders of Disabled Adventure Outfitters with Bret and Bill and Kyle.
One more echo.
Yeah, some trouble on that. I knew Bret for about 11 or 12 years. The first time I met Bret was at a conference for people with hemophilia and doctors. It was a Region 9 conference, and it was in Sacramento. And when I had seen him, I felt like I had known, that I just knew. That I just knew him. Thank you. That I just knew him. Well, this is the first time I had ever seen him, and he felt like he was an old friend of mine. He just looked very familiar to me. And in a lot of spiritual practices, they say that means you've known each other for many, many lives. And even though we knew each other for over a decade, there were some things that I learned about Bret only recently by reading his obituary and the article that was just produced on Bret. The fact that his legs were cast up as a child, and he had to go through some pretty harsh stuff with his hemophilia. I haven't cried since Bret died till today. Bret had a lot of friends, and I can really say that he was my best friend. And so there's a huge hole in my life, and the funny thing is, I know a lot of people can say that about Bret, that he was their best friend, and that's really beautiful. And you know, it's kind of indicative of our relationship. We would kind of he was my boss, and he would tell me what to do a lot, and he was really good at telling me what to do, that's for sure. And he was like my mentor and my enemy sometimes, and I really thank God that in the last 2 years I decided that Bret, I really saw Bret for who he is, a wonderful person. The principles that show today, with all these people willing to drive so far to show their love, and the foundation that Bret built. And even though he could really be tough sometimes, I can't imagine having my leg cast up for a month. And it's just a huge circle of understanding.
Thank you, Steve. Something Steve said brought to mind something about Bret that was really important to me that I'm really going to miss, and that is Bret worked a lot behind the scenes with his friends, and at board meetings at Disabled Adventure Outfitters. I've been the president for a few months, and when I started running board meetings, he would be sitting there at my side, and he'd whisper little things into my ear, little things to remind me this or that or the other thing. And he did a lot of that, a lot of whispering in people's ears around, I think, about you need to maybe give so-and-so a call, or you need to you know, maybe go out and spend some time with this person as a friend rather than as a as a co-board member. So there was a lot of background stuff that went on that all of us have little tiny slices of that we see that I know was extremely deep and widespread. So moving forward with DAO and stuff, I'm really going to miss the advisor that Bret was to me in terms of the people and the vision. And we shared a lot about our vision for the organization over the last couple of years. And I feel really fortunate to have had Bret and Steve and the other guys found this so that I could help cultivate it and build it into the thing that I know Bret had the vision to see years and years ago before most of the rest of us. So anyway, I don't see anybody else coming on up. Ken?
We got Steve.
Kyle.
Hi, Kyle.
I always think of a memorial as such a happy time to remember a great gift, and yet I'm torn with such sorrow. But the reality, Bret, I should have never known him, except that Bret lasted longer than the medical world ever said he should. Half the people here never would have known him. Half the people's lives, half the friendships here wouldn't know each other, except for things he taught us. What a happy thought. It's hard to believe that. What a man.
Hi, sweetheart. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It is. It is. It's okay. Go ahead. You can do it. You can do this. Okay. Strong. I'll stand right behind you. I'll stand right there. Okay. Okay, I'll stand next to you.
How about Patricia? Oh my God. She is awesome. Bret was so lucky to have her. You guys showed me everything about what a healthy, really loving relationship really should be like. You know. What do you say about somebody when they're, they were there at all your biggest moments in your life, and introduced you to all your friends?
Breathe. Just breathe. Just breathe. Just breathe. Just breathe.
That's not being a Patricia with a microphone.
I love you so much.
I love you too. I love you too.
Oh God, and Bret was just so beautiful, everything he did, and I really owe a lot to him and you, and just like Bill Wing said, you and his mom, he made me want to see the world. He helped made me do it. I went everywhere he told me about, where you guys went. I would have never been, whenever I needed something, he was there. I found a way to make it happen, And, but all I can remember now is his big smile.
Mm-hmm.
And while everybody's here, thank you all for, all your help over the years. BT, Andrew, everybody, Dan. 2 stories. Oh, maybe, no, okay.
The Bill moment. No, I'm not going to tell that one.
Just breathe.
He called me up, Brett, and like, oh man, you know what we're gonna do? I'm like, what? What are we gonna do, dude? And he's like, we're going whitewater rafting. I'm like, oh, that's great. Where? And he's like, up in Humboldt with BT. Okay. It's gonna be a camp. We've got like 10 people. Okay. And I didn't want to say it was crazy to his face, you know. Didn't know how can we do that. And everybody took us, like, all you guys were so kind and took us, you know, gave us respect and a chance. Bill Wing especially, you know. And that means a lot. So thank you.
Brett and I co-directed the Hemophilia Summer Camp. Did the Hemophilia Summer Camp down in Cazadero for many, many years together, and enough said.
Brett was one of those people in my life that that shared my vision of building something for the hemophilia community, building leaders and building experiences. And he did that at DO, and I did it at camp, and we did it together over the years for a lot of people. And as Mark said, you know, going to a lot of funerals, one of the things you cling to is the guys you can call up afterwards, like Brett and Todd. And Brett's not going to be here anymore, and that's going to be real tough. It's going to be real tough this year to tell the kids that he's not going to be there anymore, too. Anyway, more pleasant story. Years Brett was a counselor in a cabin. He was always running his cabin group like it was some kind of Marine Corps.
I think lockstep is the word.
Always asked me every day when cabin inspection was going to be, because they were ready every day of the week. And his kids were the only ones to shower regularly. You know, it was always tough on them, holding a real strong line. But at the end of the week, when those kids would get home, there would be postcards from Brett to their parents telling them what they had done, what they had learned that week, what they had experienced. And that's how good he was with those kids. That's how great he was. And I remember one year we'd had a particularly tough year, as we had many in those early years. And I came home exhausted. Another year of camp under the belt. Got out of my car, walked up to my steps, and there my wife was with her postcard from Brett on how I had done that. And it's something I'll always remember. And it's something I'll always remember about Brett.
True.
Well, what a man he was. I hear kind of all of us saying similar things here at how much of a friend Brett was to us and how much guidance he seemed to give us in our lives. And a lot of times it was firm guidance, but it was reality. And he kind of, I just looked at Brett from a young age and everything that he was able to accomplish in his life, and it just gave me confidence to go out and do it for myself. And he just Mr. Take Care of Business, and I think I learned some of that from Brett. It just, you make up your mind you want to do something, and you just take the necessary steps, whatever that is, go out and do it, take care of it. And he did that over and over and over. So I'm very sad he's not sitting around here with his jeans and his black sweatshirt and his cap, smile on his face. I'm really sorry and sad that I didn't get to visit more with him this past year or so. But he'll definitely live on with what he's built, and I think it's up to the rest of us to keep that going. So
Hi, my name's Jessica, and I've known Bret for about 7 years, and definitely saw him from a different view because I wasn't sick, and I would see him, and he would never, ever try to hide his illness from anybody, but he was always so incredibly positive that he inspired me in so many different ways. Bret was also kind of, like a lot of people have said, like a coach and a confidant and almost like a father figure to me, because I'd never really had a father. And he always gave me advice whether I liked it or not. But the thing that I truly will miss is, again, his smile. I mean, you think about how small his little face is and how big his smile was. It was half his face with his teeth and lips. He was a beautiful human being. He touched me deeply in my heart, my soul, and I will always, always miss him, but he will always be with all of us, because that's how Bret was. He had the strongest spirit, and I think every single one of us contributed to that in our own way. And I'm just thankful that I got to know him and that he was around as long as he was. So.
Yeah, I just wanted to share a short story. I think it was the last teen camp. We'd just run the Pigeon Point run, and we'd finished running through Fishtail, and we'd taken the boats out. And the kids were jumping off a rock into the end of the rapid, and they're having a great time. And the guys are off the bottom, and we're running safety. And then also we look up, and there's Bret hiking his way up to the top of the rock. And I guess at the time, he hadn't been feeling too good, and he's having a real hard time getting up there, and he's getting kind of wobbly. And you know, all of a sudden there's Bill standing right behind him. You know, and he's not pushing him, he's not pulling him, but he's making sure that he gets up. And Bret walks all the way out to the edge of the rock and scoots up to the end. And he's kind of standing there for a bit, and we're all waiting. And you can see he's thinking, and then all of a sudden he turns around to Bill. He's like, Bill, man, I'm not strong enough to jump. And Bill says, all right, you know, want me to help you back down? He's like, no, man, I want you to throw me. And sure enough, man, Bill grabs him by the vest, and you believe people could fly that day. He was thrown 10, 15 feet out in the river. Huge splash, comes up laughing and swims out, and I just like to think that I could live my life that way. So, thanks.
I'm Mark Helm's wife. My name is Julie, and on the way here, we're from Fresno, so we had a lot of time to think and talk about our memories about Bret. And some of the stuff that Mark didn't get to share is that Bret was there with us at some of the biggest moments of our lives. He was in our wedding almost 17 years ago. He was there at the Berkeley Symposium when we found out that Mark was HIV positive, and I think I was remembering at that time that Bret wasn't prepared yet to find out that news, and Patricia was there, and Val was there, and Todd, you probably were there, I don't remember, but many of you were there, and I look back at all that history, and Bret was a loyal friend. He was someone who, when he would commit to you, it wasn't just a fly-by-night kind of a thing. And that is something I greatly appreciated about him. And not only that, but Mark got to come up here in February and spend a few days with Bret. And it had been a few years since he had done that. And when I talked to Mark a few times while he was here, it was so neat to see or hear a smile in his voice because of what Bret brought out in him. And I think I've heard everybody talk here. That's one thing I've really noticed. Bret really would bring out a part of you, part of us, that maybe we didn't always get to experience. And so those are just some of the blessings that Bret brought to our lives, and he will always, always be dear to us.
I'm starting to feel like this karaoke machine is a direct link to Bret right now. And so I just wanted to tell him that I love him one more time.
Hello. Yeah, I first met Bret when he was delivering my meds, around 6 or 7, I guess he started. And the thing that struck me at that point, even though I was a little kid, you know, he'd come over, he'd deliver the meds, and I'd be playing with Army soldiers. He'd get right down on the floor and play with me, you know, the tanks going. And I never had known another adult to do that, to get down to the level of a kid and just be a kid with them. And that really struck me at the time. I've been on many camping trips, and he was a counselor at CAS with me. I remember one night I had a really bad elbow bleed, I think it was, and he stayed up all night with me and David Powell playing on the computers that were up there. And another memory I have is a camping trip we took to Fort Hunter Liggett, and it was just us two, and I think it was right after one of the big earthquakes, and the campground was closed, and we had his four-wheel drive. I think the water main had broke or something, but so we wanted to camp there, so we just drove off the road through a creek and into the campground, and we were the only ones there at night, and we freaked the hell out of each other, sitting by the fire. Yeah, all the other campgrounds deserted, and we thought for sure there was an axe murderer up in one of the other campgrounds, and that's just how he was. I mean, even though the campground was closed, we powered through the water and stayed there, and it was great. He was a very big role model for me.
Hey Kevin, is that the time that the helicopters came?
Yes, yeah, we got caught by the military. We were out shooting, target shooting in the Hunter Liggett. It's a military training facility, and we went through this checkpoint and turned off the road and did some target shooting, and all of a sudden these big Huey helicopters started flying around low, and we hid under the trees, and